Hey peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now it's time to talk Shokugeki no Soma or Food Wars, Chapter 194, Compensation. Okay, so guys, hi. We're starting it off with Shokugeki no Soma today because, well, this chapter was pretty interesting. It was pretty exciting on a point too. But I want to refer to something I talked about last week, because this chapter, what we end up getting towards the end is that we're going to have this team battle, and Soma and his group are going to get trained up so that they can stand a chance against the Elite 10 team. And so with that development, it makes me slightly concerned about what's happening in the manga right now because of how things are escalating. More importantly, like how things are kind of, Soma and the gang are going to be risen to this point where they can compete with the Elite 10. I just feel like that's happening very quickly. And so in regard to that, last week I mentioned that I was concerned that Shokugeki no Soma might be in danger of some kind of maneuvers from Shonen Jump. And that might honestly just be my general feelings after the recent series endings, whether it was Nisekoi, whether it was Bleach, whether it was Toriko. I just don't trust Jump because their practices are pretty harsh. Last week, another reviewer, Charles's Anime World, he did come on, and his series is effectively Shokugeki no Soma. Like, this is a series that he knows. So his words, they inspire confidence. And I do want to say thank you for commenting on that video. Thank you very much. Anyway, because of that and today's kind of discomfort, I went and I looked up what's been going on with Shokugeki no Soma. Like, manga rankings came out this year, maybe today or maybe yesterday. I checked the rankings for last year, and I also checked the Weekly Shonen Jump rankings. And so on manga sales, like, Soma does well. It's in the top 10. So I think that puts it in a safe enough space, because last year Bleach and Toriko wasn't on the list. Bleach was very near the bottom of the top 30. So in terms of sales, that's kind of more reassuring. I'm not surprised that the Shokugeki no Soma manga does sell well though. But now, in terms of the Shonen Jump rankings, the internal rankings, Soma in particular is very volatile. Looking back from September till now, Soma was below Toriko more than once. Soma has fluctuated very wildly, and it has ended up in the bottom 5, maybe 3 or 4 times. Yeah, I think that's a good number. Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 times, but it also has been in the highs, and it has been in the upper rung. But what I think has happened, and this might just be my speculating, because of the way that things seem to be going on here, because we've had the wipeout of the other characters, and the biggest issues in that, I think, were Kurokiba and Alice. They were not done in properly, I think. We had their wipeout, and now we're having this situation where things are being escalated, and we're now heading to a scenario where Soma and his group of first years might be able to take on, like, the mid-tier of the Elite 10, if not the top of the Elite 10. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Soma in particular has shown that he is capable of taking the bottom rungs of the Elite 10. But I think it'll be interesting to see him overcome the hurdle that is the first and second seeds. Regardless, as I was saying, just because of the way things seem to be a bit rushing now, and because we are going into a flashback that I honestly think will probably show Soma's mom, I wonder, because usually, because Soma has hit those bottom in the rankings that often, I want to believe that the editors did talk to the author and the artist, because there's always editor interference in a series. Even in One Piece, even really late in the game with the Sabaody Archipelago, the introduction of the supernovas in that one particular moment at the Sabaody Archipelago was specifically because a editor suggested that to Oda. And the editors will do things based on how they think a series can succeed. Given that Soma was in a bad spot for a few weeks, I would not be surprised if the editors and the author and the artist came up with some kind of maneuver to, like, make Soma more exciting. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with Soma achieving this level of power that the Elite 10 have. I think it'd be really interesting going into second year and seeing just what kind of trials and difficulties Soma would have to deal with being an Elite 10. Like, there's a lot of story potential that can still happen in Shokugeki no Soma. So in that regard, it's not too worrying, because there's still content that could be made for the manga. It's just with the way that this particular chapter and the last chapter were executed, it just makes it feel slightly rushed. And since it looks like Shokugeki no Soma is successful, I'm not worried about the cancellation aspect of it anymore. But there is always a possibility that the team has effectively come up with this idea for a really good arc, and now they're just gonna try and just speed through this one to get to this other really good arc. And I hope that would be the scenario. But yeah, for this chapter, I do feel it's slightly rushed just because everything's happening very quickly. I think it's the inclusion of also the flashback, because I always felt that the flashback would be one of those really important moments in Shokugeki no Soma, because it might show us who Soma's mother is and what exactly got Saiba to leave the academy. And that's a really interesting thing. So let's talk about this chapter. That was my pre-chapter discussion just about where I think the series might be going and where I hope it might be going. I'm not afraid of the cancellation anymore, but I still think that editor influence is very possible, and it most likely happened given that the series had hit some lows in the last 3 months. Anyway, this chapter, like, the really standout things are Saiba coming in and being a badass and knowing what to wage. Azami being a total fanboy, Saiba starting up the flashback, and Gin pretty much laying down what needs to be done, and Saiba also laid down what needs to be done. And it was cool because last week I mentioned how Gin being there probably meant Saiba was there, and that was probably the indicator, and then yeah, Gin confirmed it this week. But let's talk about like the thing I found the most interesting. The flashback is awesome. It's cool to see this thing. It's cool to find out that Saiba actually had more wins against Gin, like to an absurd degree. So him not being the first seat might really just have been because he was lazy enough to not be the first seat. And then just seeing how a day in their life, and seeing how Saiba just always tried to round people up to go take on other Shokugekis just so they could expand their territory. That was really cool. And the really coolest part was seeing little Azami, how happy, how nice he looked as he was chasing after his beloved senpai. And then, you know, that childlike face, I was just like, I can't believe this is the same guy. But then you see the face that Azami makes when Saiba says, hey, I will be your bitch. Okay, no, I don't want to say that because Saiba would never be his bitch, but I want to say, I will be your henchman. And the face that guy makes, like, you know, Azami is an interesting character because he is so irrational. He is such an egotistical maniac that he does things on a whim. So when you have that kind of personality and you have the object of this man's affections right in front of him saying, hey, I will join your side if you take on this deal. And then seeing his face, it looks like he's having the best time of his life with the idea like, oh my god, I'm gonna have my guy back. And it's making his day. And that is simultaneously the most adorable thing and the most unfortunate thing in the world. Like, the poor guy, man, like that face that he makes, that's the thumbnail. I like whenever Saiba is used with Azami because the faces that we get from him are very human. But in this case, this particular facial expression just kind of shows where he's at in his love for this man. And I like that they can manipulate that. I like that Saiba is heartless enough to know to manipulate that. And he knows what's going to get this guy going. And so it's a really interesting dynamic. And I really like it. I know that Azami is like a horribly irrational villain. And it's a good thing that Shokugeki no Soma doesn't build the world outside of Totsuki that much, because otherwise a lot of his shenanigans wouldn't make sense. But I do like it. That was so fun. Because it looked really tense. It looked like, yeah, I'm not gonna just fall for you guys. I'm not gonna like take on that stupid bet. And then it's like, no man, I'll work for you. It's like, oh, it was awesome. I like that. Okay, other like nice parts in the chapter where like how just Aldini just really stepped up and was like, hey, we're gonna do this. And it's like, yeah, go do something like that. That's something that Soma usually does, but it's good to see Aldini taking over. And then we also got to see a panel of Irina kind of having her little bit of an issue with Azami. I do wonder if he's going to try and play that mental aspect up when the actual team fight begins. But we have Saiba on that side, so I think Saiba could probably overcome whatever effects Azami has on Irina in particular, because Saiba is such a big part of her life. Let's see, any other things that we need to really consider. We got the way that the team fight works is pretty much just cook until you can't cook, and then your teammate takes over. So yeah, if we're going in with that, and we're going in with this 4-man team, and we don't receive anyone else, like say Nishiki, I do want to believe that everyone in this team is going to get at least one victory. I think that would be awesome. I don't mind if the heavyweights like Irina and Soma get more than one win, because it's actually more likely that these two are going to win the most. But I want to see at least Aldini and Todoroki get their win, because then that justifies them having a position in the Elite 10. And now in terms of the training arc, I really do wonder what kind of training they're going to go through, and how are they going to train when it comes to cooking. It's going to be really interesting. I want to see what these guys are going to do to kind of justify this kind of training arc, because this is a refinement of skills and expanding your knowledge. Because of that, it's not the same thing as a physical training arc, you know what I mean? But I do want to see where we're going to go with that. I think, and this is another aspect that kind of makes this chapter seem rushed. It's the way that we started this off with an arc about the promotion exams, about an exam to just get these guys into the next year. And you know, it quickly derailed because of Azami, because he was just trying to get these kids out of there. And now it's like, it's totally derailed to this point, because now like really last minute things are happening. People are down, and now they have to go save them effectively. And then you have this situation where now they're just going to take advantage of where the final spot was going to be, and just have this fight at that final location. It's just happening all very fast, and just, you know, you can kind of see that things are just being thrown at us. And that, to be fair, is not a fault. That could just be mimicking the general hecticness of life, and just this is a bad situation, so things are going to happen faster. But things happening faster also leaves out the more nuanced moments, like say interactions with fallen characters. Otherwise, the Saiba moments though, like he had this chapter. This was effectively a Saiba Gin chapter. Like they were on point for this chapter, and now the kids are just kind of watching in terms of the flashback what's going to happen. So I've talked a lot in this chapter. I think you can tell I very much love this chapter. I'm going to leave it there. Leave me your comments down below, and yeah, till next time. I hope you have a great day.